Her people gave up on her, but a stranger chose to fight for her freedom. Asterisk, the abandoned daughter Zara, Night Whisper, pressed her face against the cold metal bars of her cell, watching the last transport ship disappear into the starry void. Her own people, the Valarian High Council, had just abandoned her on this remote prison station. The crime? Falling in love with someone they deemed unworthy of their royal bloodline. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was the daughter of Supreme Chancellor Vex Night Whisper, once the most powerful woman in the Valarian Empire. Now she was nothing more than a political prisoner, left to rot in the Crimson Nebula Detention Center, a place where the galaxy's most dangerous criminals were kept. Another royal disappointment, sneered Captain Kor, the Valarian guard who had overseen her imprisonment. Your father sends his regards and his final message. You are no longer his daughter. The words cut deeper than any physical wound could. Zara had known this day would come, when she refused to marry Commander Thane Blackstorm, the man her father had chosen to strengthen their military alliance. She had sealed her fate, but she couldn't force herself to love someone who treated her like a trophy to be won rather than a person to be cherished. The detention center was a maze of corridors and cells, housing prisoners from dozens of different species. Zara had been here for 3 months now, and she had learned to keep to herself. Trust was a luxury she couldn't afford in a place like this. Her cell was small but clean, with a narrow window that showed the swirling colors of the nebula outside. She spent most of her time reading the ancient texts she had smuggled in, stories of love and adventure that reminded her of the world beyond these walls. You're the Valarian princess, aren't you? A voice asked from the shadows. Zara turned to see a human male standing in the corridor outside her cell. He was tall and lean, with kind brown eyes and a gentle smile that seemed out of place in this harsh environment. Former princess, she corrected, studying him carefully. And you are? Jake Harrison, he said, extending his hand through the bars. I'm the new medical officer here. I heard about your situation from some of the other prisoners. Zara hesitated before shaking his hand. His touch was warm and surprisingly comforting. What's a human doing in a place like this? Jake laughed, a sound that was both bitter and amused. Let's just say I made some powerful enemies when I refused to develop biological weapons. For the Terran military, they couldn't prove I was a traitor, so they assigned me here as punishment. So we're both exiles, Zara said, finding an unexpected kinship with this stranger. In a way, yes, but I choose to see it as an opportunity to help people who really need it. Jake's eyes met hers, and she saw a depth of compassion that she had rarely encountered. I've been reading your file. What they did to you isn't right. Zara felt a flutter of hope in her chest, something she hadn't experienced in months. Files can be deceiving. You don't know the whole story. Then tell me, Jake said simply. I have time, and I'm a good listener. For the next hour, Zara found herself opening up to this human stranger in ways she had never done with anyone before. She told him about her childhood in the crystal palaces of Valaris, about her dreams of becoming a diplomat and bringing peace to the warring sectors, about her refusal to marry for political gain. Jake listened without judgment, nodding at appropriate moments and asking thoughtful questions. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Your people may have given up on you, he said finally, but that doesn't mean your story is over. Sometimes the most beautiful chapters of our lives begin when we think everything has ended. As Jake walked away, Zara felt something shift inside her. For the first time since her imprisonment, she allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as alone as she thought. The unlikely alliance Jake Harrison made it his mission to visit Zara every day during his rounds. At first, she was suspicious of his kindness, wondering what he might want in return. But as days turned into weeks, she began to look forward to their conversations. Tell me about Earth, she said one evening as they sat on opposite sides of her cell door. I've never met a human before you. Jake smiled, pulling out a small device that projected holographic images. It's a beautiful planet, full of diversity and wonder. Blue oceans, green forests, mountains that touch the sky. The images danced between them, showing scenes of Earth's natural beauty. Zara gasped as she watched children playing in a field of flowers, their laughter echoing through the projection. It looked so peaceful. Why did you leave? Sometimes peace comes at a high price, Jake said, his expression growing serious. My government wanted me to create weapons that could wipe out entire populations. I couldn't live with that knowledge, so you chose exile over compromise, Zara said, understanding flooding through her. Just like I did. Their bond deepened with each passing day. Jake would bring her books from the station's library, and Zara would share stories of Valarian culture and history. They discovered they both loved ancient poetry and spent hours discussing the works of long-dead philosophers from across the galaxy. One day, Jake arrived looking troubled. I intercepted a communication from the Valarian High Council, he said. Quietly, they're planning to transfer you to the Obsidian Mines. It's a death sentence, Zara. Zara's blood ran cold. The Obsidian Mines were where political prisoners went to disappear forever. When, 3 days, the transport is already en route. Jake's hands clenched into fists. I can't let them do this to you. What choice do we have? Zara asked, though her heart was racing. This place is a fortress. No one has ever escaped from the Crimson Nebula Detention Center. Jake's eyes lit up with determination. Then we'll be the first. I've been studying the station's security protocols, and I think I've found a weakness. But I'll need your help. Over the next 2 days, they worked together to plan their escape. Jake had access to the medical bay and could disable the security systems during the night shift. Zara knew the layout of the detention center from her daily walks to the exercise yard. Why are you doing this? Zara asked as they finalized their plans. You could lose everything. Your position here, your freedom, maybe even your life. Jake reached through the bars and took her hand. Because everyone deserves a chance at freedom. And because, he paused, his cheeks flushing slightly. Because I care about you, Zara. More than I should, considering the circumstances. Zara's heart skipped a beat. She had been trying to ignore the growing feelings she had for this kind. Brave human. Jake, you don't have to say anything, he said gently. I just wanted you to know that you're not alone anymore. Whatever happens, we're in this together. The night of the escape, Jake arrived at Zara's cell with a medical kit and a guard's uniform. The security cameras are down for the next 20 minutes, he whispered. After that, we'll have to rely on luck and speed. Zara changed quickly, her hands trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement. As they made their way through the darkened corridors, she couldn't help but marvel at Jake's courage. He was risking everything for her, a woman he had known for only a few months. They reached the hangar bay without incident. But as they approached the small medical shuttle Jake had prepared, alarms began blaring throughout the station. They've discovered we're gone, Jake said, his voice tight with tension. We need to move now. As they ran toward the shuttle, Zara realized that whatever happened next, her life would never be the same. Jake Harrison, a stranger who had chosen to fight for her freedom, had given her something she thought she had lost forever, hope. The chase begins. The shuttle's engines roared to life as Jake's fingers flew over the controls. Behind them, the detention center's security forces were scrambling to respond. But Jake had given them a precious head start by disabling the hangars. Lockdown systems. Where are we going? Zara asked, strapping herself into the co-pilot's seat as they burst out of the hangar into the swirling nebula. I have a friend on Kepler Station, Jake said, his eyes focused on the navigation display. Dr. Lily Chen runs a free clinic there. She owes me a favor, and more importantly, she doesn't ask questions. Zara watched the detention center shrink behind them. But her relief was short-lived. 3 pursuit ships emerged from the nebulas. Concealment, their weapon systems already charging. Warning shots. Jake muttered as energy blasts lit up the space around them. They want us alive. My father's orders, Zara said bitterly. He probably wants to make an example of me publicly. Jake's jaw tightened as he pushed the shuttle to its limits. That's not going to happen. Hold on. The next few minutes were a blur of evasive maneuvers and near misses. Jake proved to be a skilled pilot, using the nebula's dense gas clouds to hide their movements. But their shuttle was no match for the military-grade pursuit ships. Our engines are overheating, Zara reported, monitoring the ship's systems. We can't keep this up much longer. There, Jake pointed to a massive asteroid field ahead. If we can lose them in there, we might have a chance. They plunged into the maze of floating rocks, the shuttle's hull scraping against stone as they navigated the treacherous passage. One of the pursuit ships followed too closely and clipped an asteroid, spinning out of control. "To left," Zara said, then gasped as she saw what lay ahead. "Jake, there's a ship in distress." A small civilian vessel was trapped between two large asteroids, its distress beacon flashing weakly. Jake didn't hesitate, steering their shuttle toward the trapped ship. Despite the danger, What are you doing?" Zara asked. "We can't stop now. I can't leave them," Jake said simply. "It's not who I am." Using the shuttle's tractor beam, they pulled the civilian ship free, just as the two remaining pursuit ships caught up. The rescued vessel's captain, a gruff Zephyrian trader named Captain Rex Stormwind, hailed them immediately. "You saved my ship," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "I owe you a debt. We could use an escort." Jake said quickly, "We're being pursued by Valarian forces." Captain Stormwind's expression hardened. "The Valarians destroyed my home colony 5 years ago. I'd be happy to return the favor." The trader's ship was old but heavily armed, and he used it to great effect against the pursuit ships, while Rex engaged the Valarians in combat. Jake and Zara slipped away deeper into the asteroid field. Hours later, they emerged on the far side of the field, battered but free. Rex's ship appeared beside them, sporting new battle scars, but triumphant. "The Valarians won't be bothering you for a while," Rex said with satisfaction. "Where are you headed?" "Kepler Station," Jake replied. "Can you escort us there?" "Consider it done," Rex said. "Anyone who stands up to the Valarians is a friend of mine." As they traveled toward Kepler Station, Zara found herself studying Jake's profile as he piloted their damaged shuttle. He had risked everything to help her escape, and then risked their freedom again to save strangers. She had never met anyone with such unwavering moral courage. "You could have left that ship," she said quietly. "We might have gotten away clean." Jake turned to her, his brown eyes serious. "Would you have wanted me to leave them?" Zara thought about it for a moment, then shook her head. "No. That's one of the things She paused, almost saying too much. "One of the things you what?" Jake asked gently. "One of the things I admire about you," she finished, her cheeks warming. "You're nothing like the men I grew up around. You actually care about people, not just power or position." Jake reached over and took her hand. "You're pretty remarkable. Yourself, princess. Most people in your situation would be focused on getting revenge or reclaiming their throne, but you're more concerned about doing what's right." As Kepler Station appeared on their view screen, Zara realized that somewhere between the prison cell and this moment, she had fallen completely in love with Jake Harrison. The man who had chosen to fight for her freedom had also, without trying, captured her heart. Finding home in each other, Kepler Station was a bustling hub of commerce and culture, built inside a massive asteroid that had been hollowed out and transformed into a city. Dr. Lily Chen's clinic occupied a quiet sector where the desperate and downtrodden could find help without questions. Jake, Dr. Chen embraced him warmly as they entered her clinic. She was a petite woman with kind eyes and graying hair, wearing a medical coat that had seen better days. "When I got your message, I prepared a safe room immediately." "Lily, this is Zara," Jake said, his hand protectively on Zara's back. "She's the one I told you about." Dr. Chen studied Zara with professional interest. "The Valarian princess. I've heard about your situation. Your father's been broadcasting your criminal status across the galaxy. There's quite a bounty on your head." "How much?" Zara asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. "Enough to tempt most bounty hunters," Dr. Chen said honestly. "But don't worry. My clinic is neutral territory. You're safe here." They were shown to a small apartment above the clinic, a cozy space with 2 bedrooms and a sitting area that looked out over the station's central plaza. For the first time in months, Zara felt truly safe. "I can't stay here forever," she said. That evening, as she and Jake sat on the small balcony, watching the station's artificial sunset, "Eventually, someone will find me. Then we'll figure out our next move," Jake said. "Together." "Our next move?" Zara raised an eyebrow. "Jake, you've already done more than enough. You've given me my freedom. I can't ask you to give up your entire life for me." Jake turned to face her, his expression serious. What if I want to? What if I've already decided that wherever you go, that's where I want to be? Zara's heart raced. Jake, I love you, Zara. He said simply, I know it's crazy. I know we've only known each other for a few months, and I know I'm just a human doctor while you're Valarian royalty. But I love you, and I can't imagine my life without you in it. Tears filled Zara's eyes. I love you too. I have for weeks now, but I was afraid to say it. I was afraid you'd think I was just grateful for the rescue. Jake reached out and cupped her face in his hands. This isn't gratitude. This is real, isn't it? More real than anything I've ever felt, Zara whispered. Their first kiss was gentle and tentative, then deeper and more passionate as they finally allowed themselves to express the feelings they had been holding back. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. So what now? Zara asked, her forehead resting against his. Now we build a life together, Jake said. Dr. Chen has offered me a position at the clinic. We could stay here, help people, make a difference. And if my father finds us, then we'll face him together, Jake said firmly. But I have a feeling he's going to be too busy dealing with the political fallout from your escape to worry about chasing us across the galaxy. Over the following weeks, they settled into their new life on Kepler Station. Jake worked at the clinic, treating patients from across the known galaxy, while Zara helped with translation and cultural mediation. Her knowledge of different species and their customs proved invaluable. They also grew closer as a couple, sharing meals, dreams, and quiet moments together. Zara had never experienced such domestic happiness, and she found herself treasuring every ordinary moment with Jake. One evening, as they were closing the clinic, Captain Rex Stormwind appeared with news. The Valarian High Council is in chaos, he reported. Your escape has inspired other political prisoners to attempt their own breakouts. There's talk of rebellion in the outer colonies. What about my father? Zara asked. Chancellor Nightwhisper is facing calls for his resignation, Rex said with satisfaction. Apparently, abandoning his own daughter to save face didn't play well with the Valarian people. Jake squeezed Zara's hand. Maybe you're finally free. Maybe we both are, Zara replied, looking around at the clinic that had become their home, at the man who had become her heart. Love conquers all 6 months after their escape. Zara and Jake had built a life together that neither had imagined possible. The clinic had become their sanctuary, a place where they could help others while nurturing their relationship. But their peaceful existence was about to be tested. Zara, Dr. Chen called urgently from the clinic's communication center. You need to see this. The main screen displayed a news broadcast from the Valarian homeworld. Chancellor Vex Nightwhisper stood at a podium, looking older and more haggard than Zara remembered. My fellow Valarians, he began, his voice heavy with emotion. I come before you today to announce my resignation from the position of Supreme Chancellor. My actions regarding my daughter, Princess Zara Nightwhisper, were driven by political expediency rather than paternal love. I have failed both as a leader and as a father. Jake put his arm around Zara as she watched her father's words in stunned silence. I hereby pardon Princess Zara of all charges, the Chancellor continued. She is free to return to Valaris with full restoration of her royal status. I only pray that someday she can forgive a foolish old man who chose politics over family. He's actually doing it, Zara whispered, tears streaming down her face. He's giving me back my freedom. The question is, Jake said gently, what do you want to do with it? Before Zara could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Captain Rex's voice crackled over the intercom. All civilians to emergency stations. We have incoming Valarian ships, but they're not firing. They're requesting permission to dock. Within the hour, a delegation of Valarian nobles arrived at the clinic, led by Commander Thane Blackstorm, the man Zara had refused to marry. He looked uncomfortable as he approached them. Princess Zara, he said formally, then surprised everyone by dropping to one knee. I come to offer the apologies of the Valarian High Council, and to escort you home, if you wish, Commander Blackstorm. Zara said coolly, I assume my father sent you. Actually, I volunteered, Thane said. Rising to his feet, I owe you an apology as well. I was so focused on the political advantages of our union that I never considered your feelings or desires. I'm sorry. Jake stepped forward, and Zara could see the tension in his shoulders. And what about those of us who love her? What place do we have in your plans? Thane looked between Jake and Zara, understanding dawning on his face. You're the human who helped her escape, the one he paused, then smiled genuinely for the first time. The one she loves, I am, Jake said firmly, and I won't let anyone take her away from me again. Then it's a good thing I'm not here to take her anywhere. Thane said, I'm here to offer her a choice and to extend an invitation to both of you. Zara raised an eyebrow. What kind of invitation? The Valarian High Council has voted to establish a new diplomatic corps, Thane explained. They want you to lead it. Princess, your experience with different cultures and your unique perspective on interspecies relations would be invaluable. And Jake, Zara asked. The position comes with a full staff, including a chief medical officer, Thane said with a smile. The pay is excellent, and you'd have the resources to help people across the galaxy. Jake and Zara looked at each other, a silent conversation passing between them. We'll need time to think about it, Zara said finally. Of course, Thane nodded. I'll be on Kepler Station for 3 days. Take all the time you need. That night, as they walked through the station's gardens, Jake and Zara discussed their future. It's everything you've ever wanted, Jake said. A chance to make a real difference. To bring peace between species. What about what you want? Zara asked. I won't accept the position if it means you'll be unhappy. Jake stopped walking and took her hands. Zara, 6 months ago I was an exile with no hope for the future. Now I'm madly in love with the most amazing woman in the galaxy, and she loves me back. Wherever you go, whatever you decide, I'll be happy as long as I'm with you, even if it means dealing with Valarian politics, Zara asked with a wry smile. Even then, Jake laughed. Besides, someone needs to keep you grounded when you get to diplomatic. 3 days later, they stood before Commander Thane with their answer. We accept, Zara said, her hand firmly clasped in Jake's. But we do this together, as partners in everything. I wouldn't have it any other way, Thane said, genuinely pleased. Welcome to the Valarian Diplomatic Corps, Princess Zara, and welcome to the family, Dr. Harrison. As their ship lifted off from Kepler Station, heading toward a new life and new adventures, Zara leaned against Jake's shoulder and smiled. Her people had given up on her, but a stranger had chosen to fight for her freedom. In the process, they had both found something neither had been looking for, a love that could conquer any obstacle. The galaxy might throw at them, the stars stretched endlessly before them, full of possibilities and promise. Together, they would face whatever came next, knowing that they had each other, and that was more than enough.